Hello and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers.
Welcome back to another Share Your Light episode, and I'm going to revisit with some people that we've met before, but they have a new project that is absolutely amazing. Jennifer Lansink and Kate Trotter are authors of the soon-to-be-released children's book, Clair and Her Magical Friends. Their inspiration comes from their intuitive children who challenge them to see the world through a different lens. Clair and Her Magical Friends introduces readers and parents to their various types of psychic intuition through whimsical rhymes and colorful illustrations. But don't be mistaken, this book may encourage you to see the world through a different lens as well. Thank you, ladies, for coming with me today. I'm so damn excited about this one. So what I started before we started record is and this sounds hokey, but I don't care. I was saying how proud I am of both of you for following through, because so many people talk about a project or they think about a project, but I know that this is near and dear to both of your hearts, because not only for your own children, but that you're also highly empathic, highly intuitive, very, very connected people. So somebody jump in and tell us where this wonderful, beautiful gift to the world came from.
Yeah, I was muted when I said thanks. It's so nice to be here. I was like, I'm obviously not grateful to be here. I'm very excited too. This is Jen. So I'll jump in on that one. I had a meditation about 2 long years ago, and it came very clearly to me that I needed to write a book about a little girl named Claire who introduces you to 4 friends. And those 4 friends are Senti for clairsentience, Audi for clairaudience, Voya for clairvoyance, and Cogni for claircognizance. And I got out of the meditation and I wrote Claire, and then I just wrote the 4 friends' names down, and I didn't know where it would go, but I knew I needed to write a children's book. So that's where it started, was from a meditation. So keep meditating, people. Keep meditating.
It happened differently for me. I had the call to write something, but I didn't know what. Maybe I wasn't meditating enough. So I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I did have a little whisper saying children's book, and I kept doubting. I was like, that's not real writing. Little did I know.
That's not real writing.
And then I think Jen mentioned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were doing, I think it actually may have been motivated through your courses, because we started meeting together to do readings. And again, it's following the clairaudience for me. Was some little voice said, you need to ask Kate if she'll write this book with you. And I did. I didn't contemplate it. I didn't question. I didn't say, oh yeah, put that in the hopper and come back to it later. I literally looked at you and said, oh my gosh, I have this children's book. I think you need to write it with me.
And thank goodness I said yes.
That is what
happened.
I know that I've said this over and over and over again, that the little people right now, they're coming in wide open. I really believe that we're getting the world ready for them in an incredibly positive way. And right now it might feel a little rugged, but look at my generation as the cleanup committee. I'm that last bridge between what was and what's becoming. You're right in the thick of it with bringing these little people onto the planet with, okay, we need to really shift some things. Just talk about Claire and her friends for a minute, because I think this is not only vitally needed right now, but will also validate for a lot of parents who read the book to their children that they were those little children as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want me to go, Kate? Okay. So this is a problem by having such good communication with one another. We're like, well, you go. No, you go. Okay, I'll go. So the concept is very simple. It is a very simple, rhymey. We've been trying to figure out, do we call it
stanzas?
Prose? Do we call it lyric? Like, what do we call these words? It's very stanzas. I don't know. It's very lyrical. It's very playful, and it's approachable. So what Kate and I have really talked about is there's this concept of this woo-woo spiritual side of things that even when I was being raised wasn't talked about. It wasn't normalized. It wasn't, my mother would say, you'll know when the time is right. But my mother never said, follow your intuition. My mother never said, well, tap into clairsentience and see how that feels. She never said those words. And we're trying to make it more mainstream with this book by playfully introducing the four Clairs. We're hoping that children and parents can just start making the woo normalized. So it's not this, oh my God, you're a witch, or stop acting like that. I mean, I heard that a lot. Stop being yourself, Jen, because you're crazy. As a child, and I love my parents. My gosh, my father's literally like looking down at me right now, like, Jennifer, you knocked that off, because he passed away last year. He's all, I loved you the whole time. I know. Okay, that's a whole nother episode. But really making this a normal concept for parents and children to simply read the book and say, hey, do you feel that way? Or tell me when you see little flashes of light out of the corner of your eyes.
Yeah.
So long-winded answer.
I wasn't
there,
saying yes to that.
Yes,
let me
Jen,
condense that.
That was extremely long-winded.
To make it approachable also is what I wanted to add, that this book is approachable to children and adults, and there's a crossover there.
Well, and Kate, you have a really good perspective, because you're younger than me. You were raised in an environment where you were curious at a younger age. And when you started developing this curiosity, you've told me a million times, like,
before
these books were...
internet was accessible. Smartphones weren't really a thing. So I had to go look for books. And when I was going to all the metaphysical shops and looking for something to teach me how to develop my intuition, and of course at that time it was just clairvoyance, so I would find these books, and they were so meaty and thick that it actually hindered me. It shut me down, because I was like, I don't have the gift. I can't read this. It's too much for me. As I was, late teens, early 20s. So if I had found this book that we wrote then, it would have been, sure, it's a kid's book, but in the back, there's a whole section for parents. So we delve deeper into the meaning behind the introduction. We've put lots of thoughtful detail into each page. So there's crystals and herbs, spirit animals that are associated with each of the Clairs. So we dive into that, because in our short little stanzas, there wasn't enough space, words. We had to make it short, but we wanted to expound on it, so it would be a learning tool as well.
And I know you can't see this, but so like in the back of the book, it literally says, like, I just flipped open to Audie, clairaudience is clear hearing. And then it gives a definition. This psychic ability focuses on receiving messages through words and sounds in an audible or inaudible form. I mean, and then there's, why do we choose these certain words? So if a child says, hold on, what does senses what isn't said? What does that mean? The parent can actually go in and be like, oh my God, I don't really know what that means. I'm going to look that up and come back to a child and talk about it. Or here's some questions at the end to spark conversation with your child. Like, can you hear the sound of your stuffy's voice? Of your little stuffed animal. Like, can you hear their voice talking with you? What are they saying? What does it sound like? So for your listeners, it might not actually be appropriate for for them as adults. It'll be absolutely appropriate for them as children. But if they know individuals that do have that curiosity, like Kate was saying, that they're starting to get these questions from their friends, it's like, hey, I got this little kid's book. Check it out, read it, and see what happens. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So do you have a specific age group or level in mind?
Yeah. So this is what has been tricky. We thought we were writing it for like 4 and 5-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And while we did just read it to a 5.5-year-old, and she said to me, I didn't like it. I loved it. I was like, okay, I love you, Emmy. Her name's Emmy. Amazing. She's in the Kickstarter video, actually. So yes, the 4.5-year-old, 5.5-year-old is very engaged with it. But I was also reading it to 8 and 9-year-olds, and you could see their brows furrowing a bit, because they were like, oh, okay. I never thought of it this way. But then let's take it a step further, because when I talk to parents about this, parents that might not be in the woo, in our woo-ness, they don't have any idea what clairs are. I was talking to a doctor and I was like, yeah, it's about the clairs. So you've heard of clairvoyance? And she literally was all, no, I've never heard of clairvoyance. So this book is broad. It introduces individuals to all sorts of individuals to all sorts of different things. Yep.
But it also, I think it's going to be my new favorite book to bring to baby showers, by the way. I always like to send a book, but if someone has little kids and they're having a baby, I always bring like a book or something for the toddler or the small person as well. But I'm thinking as well for even without the age restrictions or the grade restrictions or anything like that, of anyone who is dysregulated from their emotions or having behaviors or having a hard time expressing or may not have the verbalization skills to match their cognitive ability yet, this would be a godsend. It truly, truly would. And what flashed in my mind is, back in the day, they would have these charts in every preschool, kindergarten with all the different faces and what's your emotion? And the kids would have to point at it. Mm-hmm. This is a step even further with helping, because I, in my soul, believe we all come this way. We all have this ability to connect. We all have the clairs. And I was very blessed that I was brought up to trust, listen to that little voice, trust your gut. I think you're trying to normalize this for people that might not have the vocabulary with their own children that are highly sensitive.
Yeah. Can I read you one?
I would love that. Yes.
Just so you can hear it, because it's, and then I think, Kate, we should definitely talk about the conflict, because we worked with a publisher friend of ours, and he put us on a pause for a good 6 months because we didn't know how to handle what he was saying. We're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? So I'll read this, and then we can introduce what you're talking about, Denise, about those individuals that are questioning.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, this says, meet my friend Senti. She feels emotions deeply. It can be hard to tell if they are hers completely. Some say she's too sensitive, but that's her greatest gift. Because she's an empath, she's able to uplift. My body tells me lots of things, like when my cat is sad. Places hold emotions too. Sometimes a room feels glad.
Oh, I have tears. Oh, that is so beautiful. And that's, getting a little geeky, but lyrical prose rhymes that's what people remember. That you can remember a jingle from when you were 5 years old that played on the TV. That's exactly how we're wired. That's beautiful, because it opens up for more conversation. So could you show me the picture and I'll describe it to people of that page?
Yes.
Because I think that's important. I'm a very visual person. See the colors. This is very, and I love. There's Claire, and she's with another child or another person that looks from a different ethnicity, which is beautiful. There's a big cat. There's butterflies, but it's incredibly, this is probably not popular with some people. I am thrilled that you went with an actual illustrator. That we need to support people who are creatives, but I think you can tell the difference. And that is absolutely stunning. The colors, but there's so much in there.
Yeah, I think this is a good conversation to have a little bit, is we did meditate quite a bit around how to come up with the visuals. And we reached out to our computer. We brought our computer and the internet into our energetic sphere. I love how we can talk about this with you, because we know your listeners will be like, yeah, totally. So we reached out, we kind of like wrapped our arms around Chat GPT, and there's an actual, not for the lyric or the prose, but for getting inspiration for the visuals. There's a company called Discord, or a program. And so Kate and I would type in these descriptions, and then 4 pictures would pop up, and it would be so funny. I would wait to tell like which one I liked best, and Kate would be like, that one. I'm like, me too. But so what what it ended up giving us was, one, the fact that we were totally on the same page about how we were approaching the visuals. But then when we did sit down with the illustrator, we said, we don't want them to look like this, but here's an example
really
of the feel.
Because
Perfect.
with our visuals, our visualization, we would try to describe what the images looked like in our heads. And we were usually, we thought we were on board with the same, but then when we actually had a physical image that we could both look at, like Jen said, we were like, oh yeah, that's the one. So it really made the illustrations somewhat more seamless when we did meet with our illustrator, who's Jessica Lynn Clark, by the way. She's from Portland, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, and she's been working with us literally for over a year. I mean, the illustrations have taken us over a year.
And slight adjustments, because we did have a vision, and we brought her in to, and she's works in the energetic fields as well. So she was able to get on board with us and be able to see what we were doing. And it's been wonderful.
This is a huge, huge topic for me, and I'm not going to divert the conversation, but using AI, ChatGPT, any of the programs as a tool to enhance. It's not to replace creativity or the human touch or the ability to form words. But I think a lot of creatives are intimidated now to even put anything out there. So I think that that's an equally important message to what you're producing here, is that you can still do that work. You can still bring the human aspect into it. And those are just tools to enhance. So,
and I think you can feel the emotion as a result.
Yep.
I mean, when I read it, it resonates, the vibration, the words. I can feel the love and heart that we put into it. And we had so much fun. I mean, it's literally like, hi, you want to write a book? I'm like, sure. And then we just dove in and had so much fun. You were mentioning the colors, Denise. So each Clair is associated to a chakra color. So you can see Audie has the greens and the blues. And the
That's
wind
beautiful.
and the musical instruments, and Voya is more, up the violets and the deep blues and the indigos. And then Cogni is more golds and silvers. So, we put a lot of energy into just how we approach the visuals.
Years ago, I taught a self-contained K-2 program that was language-based. And it was a real mix of children with varying abilities and skill sets. But everything was based on language development. And some had minimal skills and some were more developmentally advanced. But the book, when you show the picture, it opens up so many conversation options that there's something in each picture, no matter what your child's interests might be. You could point something out, and you could compare the animals in each picture, and you could compare the colors. Do you feel, because I know you both personally, and I love this, do you feel like there was a channeled aspect to the prose
Absolutely.
And the illustrations and bringing you together?
I would go on walking meditations, and the words would just come into my mind. They were a little longer, so we'd have to shorten them down, but it was, the shivers coming as we were talking on Zoom. We just get covered and shivers, like the spiritual chills would happen. So without a doubt, it was a beautiful process.
Oh,
well, in our dedication on the Kickstarter, we actually talk about how this was a very spiritual experience. We did a ton of meditations. We met with you for some readings. I did shamanic journeys. Kate would consult the Akashic records. I mean, we looked at this. And, you can't tell everyone that, like, oh, yeah, it's totally energetically inspired. Like, we really didn't do anything. This is all from spirit. But we consciously said, if we were struggling with something, we would say, okay, hold on. We need to meditate on this. Let's just ask the question in meditation, or I'm going to go take a shamanic journey and figure out which level. I think I even asked you one point, I'm like, which level should I go to figure this out? But that's been a huge part of it. And I think that's why it vibrates with us, because it just, this vibration of the energetic level is so palpable for us.
the other aspect that's really, really, really important in this is that I can tell by the feel of this, by seeing the illustrations, by hearing the prose, this is an active service for both of you. Incredible that it's yes, it's beautiful, and it's there's a business aspect, and we can look at all of that. But when you get right down to why you're doing it, it's to cause a ripple effect and to shine that light a little bit brighter, which is incredible. But of course, I need to know what the hell the conflict was.
Oh, right. So it was so interesting. I'll start this, Kate, and then you can add to it. So my friend, I adore him, Mark Tauber. He has his own company now. He used to publish Deepak Chopra and just tons of individuals. And I have a lot of respect for him. He worked at HarperCollins in the spiritual side of things. And I said, "This is so great. This is the book." Da, da, da. And he's like, "That sounds lovely. What's the conflict?" And I'm all, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "It's a children's book. You can't just, unless it's just educational, you have to have something that Claire has a problem with."
Yes.
And so no joke, it took us 6 months to figure it out. But, and I'll show you, we decided to do thought bubbles of different voices, whether the voices are coming from a neighbor, maybe they hear a neighbor say something, or, I heard as a child, "Focus, Jen. Come on, stop flitting and flittering, focus." Those things influence us. And obviously I haven't learned how to focus much, but they challenge us, and the little inner voices that our little preteens are hearing, it's impactful. So I'll read you one, because there's a couple. We don't want to give them all away. But so it says, "Claire, Claire, where have you been? In another world again?"
Oh. That gives me willies.
Yeah.
It really does. Mm-hmm. Because I think how many people have heard that? Come out of the clouds. Your head's in the clouds. You're not based in reality. The world doesn't really work that way. But that opens up huge doors. But again, the parents, the caretakers, the grandparents.
To heart, be like, "Oh, there's something wrong with me. Like, I need to change. I need to shut that down." So that was her conflict, was hearing different, like Jen said, neighbors, teachers, parents, whoever, adults usually, inadvertently saying these things and having them change who they are or question who they are. So that was her conflict, just a deep questioning.
As you were speaking, Kate, what flashed in my mind was someone said to me, and I remember being very small, and they said, "Don't wear your heart on your sleeve." And I didn't know what it meant. And I said, I don't know what you mean. And they said, "Don't wear your heart on your sleeve." Like everyone should understand what that means. And basically the person who said it to me said, you can't let people know what you're feeling all the time, because they'll take advantage of that. That's the first step in putting the first bricks in the wall of defending yourself, of not letting people know who you are. And I understand in certain circumstances, that's incredibly important to be able to have that discernment. But I think that's another important part of this book, is to have the conversations with kids that might not understand the actual verbiage of, and the feeling equated with. And this is kind of a side note, but I've shared with both of you, I've been doing a lot of personal work this year. And my whole goal is, I know where you're doing it beautifully. You're both doing it exceptionally well, is to come together in humanity. And it has nothing, and it's not about divisiveness, blah, blah, blah. But then the only one thing that really unites all of us is emotions. Everyone feels. Yeah. And it doesn't matter economic background, socioeconomic, it doesn't matter any of that. And that's exactly what you're doing in this book, is normalizing emotions. So I want to swear violently, but I know people with children will be listening. So I'm going to say fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. You can add a couple other F words in front of it if you'd like, but
now the little kiddos are like, "What are those F words, Mom?"
Yeah, funny, fine, fantastic,
phenomenally. Oh, hold on, that's a PH. Yeah, we talked. Kate and I have talked a lot about what is the what is the end goal for this? Like, what are we trying to do? And you said earlier, it is an act of service. Yes, it's business. And yes, we've got the Kickstarter. And yes, we really need people's help. However, that's not really what it is for us. I mean, we've put a lot of time and a lot of money into this, but our goal is that children feel more confident in who they are, more confident in the energy and the emotions that they're having, more confident to step up and say, this is me. This is who I am. And I've got these 4 friends inside of me that can help me feel more secure. And they're with me all the time.
Also, for children who may not be as sensitive, to read this book to them so that they can understand other people. Empathy and compassion, 100%. Mm-hmm. So what is the deal with the Kickstarter?
Yeah, we really had a long chat about how do we do this? What is the intention? Because just to be honest, there is a business aspect, and Kate and I have talked. I definitely go down the business side. I'm like, boo, 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 boo. And Kate's like, come on, Jen, bring it back. But we have spent a lot of time. I mean, just hiring an illustrator in general, it's beautiful because of her. Jessica Lynn Clark is incredible, and we needed to pay her. And so one of the reasons we wanted to do the Kickstarter is because, unlike a GoFundMe where you don't really get anything, you just give some money to a project you think is great or a person that you think is great, we wanted to do something where we could get the book out there. We could say, okay, you can support the idea of bringing Clair to life. You can support us as individuals, but really we want the book out there. And so if you can provide a donation or a pledge to the Kickstarter program, you're getting things. You're getting maybe a tote with some stickers and coloring pages, and you're getting a book, or you're getting a bag of crystals. We've got all sorts of little things on the different levels of the pledging. But we wanted most of all to get the word out. And Kickstarter is a great way to do that, because you can go on, read our story, realize that I'm way wackier than Kate is, go through that whole thing, decide to make a pledge, or decide not, but you can send that link on to someone else. And truly, if you can't help support it financially, it's absolutely fine. We would love you to just send that link to 4 other people, or a mom that has a very sensitive child, or someone who's graduating. Hey,
this actually came to me in a dream when I was thinking about, or I wasn't thinking, but dreaming about this project, and specifically in Kickstarter. It came to me. I was like, oh, by pledging or donating or sharing the information, you get to be part of this project. You get to help spread the word, like Denise was saying, that it's our gift. It's an act of service. And sure, there is a business aspect to it, but really just like, this is prime time for this book to be birthed into the world. Speaking of that, the book will be delivered on Mother's Day, hopefully. Mother's Day. Around.
around.
Yeah, it's our baby. Wow. It's our first.
It's a baby for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you never forget your first child.
Right. That's right.
You're like, edit that out. Thank
you. No. Nothing to edit here. Nothing to see here, people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're birthing around Mother's Day, which is really cool.
So in case people are just listening to this, what would the link be for the Kickstarter?
Yeah, so that's a little tricky. So it's going to be it's going to be launched on Friday, the 21st of March. And it'll run for, I think, 45 days, Kate. So you can go to Kickstarter and just look up Clair and her magical friends. You can also go and look for kids children's books and type in Clair and her magical friends. It's a long Kickstarter name. We can give that to you, and we can also put it up on the post.
I'll have a link in the show notes.
That'd be awesome.
And on social media as well, so that we can get it out there. But what I love as well is that you work so well together. But you're very different people. And it's another example of spirit bringing together the people that can bring forth the project or the idea or the energy, that you both are amazing in your own right, but to combine that together really converges into something so much more, which is incredible.
It's been a gift. I mean, Kate is now one of my bestest friends. I mean, we did majority of this on Zoom. I think we've been face to face twice, three times maybe. But the majority of this has been every week, twice a week sometimes, just getting on Zoom and trying to rhyme words and trying to be like, okay, hold on, what are we trying to do? But, and we were chatting about this the other day, and there is a purpose to what I'm saying. Bear with me. That we haven't really had major conflict. So, and that's where I think truly spirit did bring us together, because it's not that we don't disagree. Like sometimes I'm all, I don't think we should go down that road, or you're the same way, Kate. But spirit brought us together and said, you two can make magic, and you don't have to be in the same space. You don't have to be in the same time zone even. You guys can make magic together and follow whatever Clair is telling you, that whichever spirit animal or whichever spiritual family is talking to you, your angels or whomever. If you get that nod, goodness, please follow it. Our world needs you to follow it, to follow what you're hearing, to pay attention, to slow down and say, okay, I'm supposed to do this, and I'm just going to have fun with it and follow it.
Okay. You just made an exceptional point in that we're all being called up. This is what we came for. And a lot of people are throwing their hands up in the air and saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but they're being drawn to do something else. And when you said you meditated, you walked outside, you journey, you used dream work, you went to the Akashic records, you didn't just say, I'm writing a book. You used all of those modalities to validate and enhance the basic message that was the original intent of the project. But I love, Kate, that you said our first. So that's really nice. I think they're already in the wings lining up over there. Yeah, that's fun.
It was so weird. Speaking of readings and following it, whatever, anytime I was dabbling and thinking about this, I'd get a reading from someone and they would literally say, I see books, like a lot of books, not just one book. I mean, we've got all sorts of fun ideas, like introducing children to the spirit animals, introducing them to past lives, introducing them to animal communication. I mean, there's so many places, the chakras, there's so many things that Clair can teach your children. And that just, we're so excited.
Well, and it's amazing as well. What are the chances of, because the publishing industry is really unique at this point. It's very different than what it used to be, but that you would have a connection with someone in this genre who could walk you through it. I mean, that alone is divinely orchestrated in today's standards.
Yeah. And we are self-publishing, so we don't have a publisher, but having that guidance, it was a really fresh perspective, because and I think everyone can relate to this. You get in the minutia of creating something and you forget to take that global perspective on it and to connect with those higher realms or higher people in terms of vibration to bring you to a different level.
Do you feel that writing and working on this book has changed your own personal connection with spirit and your own personal work?
This process has been really difficult. Easy with Jen, but I had no idea, like all the minutia, all the different aspects that we would have to plod through and wade through, really pushing us out of our comfort zone. And what I've come to realize about myself and my spiritual development through this process is I'm in that really like a pressure cooker, that uncomfortable state of like, I can't do this. It's too much for me, out of my comfort zone. And it feels divinely orchestrated, and to push out of my comfort zone, to expand, to, I don't want to say level up, but I feel that happening. It's a real strange place to be spiritually, to be aware of that as it's taking place. So not quite what you were asking, but.
No, it's exactly what I was asking, and I get it. And the example I used for the other day with someone is you've been a backup singer for a
Yeah.
long time and they're asking you to take the mic. And I feel like I mean, you've worked in the Akashic Records for years, Kate, and you're very, very gifted at that. But do you feel that it's enhanced your connection with spirit by doing this process?
I feel that stepping into my own, like that everything that I've been doing prior to this has led me to this point, and that the road ahead is more clear and where I'm supposed to be going. Like, I had all those questions, like, what is I'm doing this? Am I doing that?
Yeah.
Where am I going? And it feels like, and that's where that level up word comes from. It's like, or stepping into my own. I feel like that's better. I'm stepping into my own now and really like putting on my uniform that I was always meant to wear, perhaps.
For both of you, it feels very genuine, very grounded, very connected. It doesn't feel like it's a persona and I'm not being, crabby about this, but there are a lot of people that are presenting one thing, but they're actually, their energy is presenting in a very different way. But everything that you're saying, the book, the projects, your work, it resonates with who you are as people and what you want this to be.
No,
it's not egoic.
I think there's also a concept of be careful what you ask for, because in a good way, it's causing both of us to step into our own person that I look at it as like this energetic being was waiting there, and they're all, okay, we're waiting. Okay, what are we going to do to get these two to actually step into the skin that actually is them? I know a skin suit sounds very strange, but
No.
like to who they actually were supposed to be. And I know those are very canned words, like, oh, be who you're supposed to be. But what I see happening is they finally said, okay, we're going to have them write a children's book. And then this is going to be the catalyst for them to really figure out, who do you want to be? So following the catalyst has me questioning imposter, right? Like, am I an imposter? Like, well, what? I don't know all the Clairs like Denise does. Who am I to write this book, right? I mean, I'm questioning, I'm writing a course called Intuitive Parenting. It's like, well, I'm hoping to take the course as well, because I'm not always the best intuitive parent, right? Even though I'm writing it, right? It's like, I'm real that we're all still on these journeys. Like, just because we stepped in and wrote this book and are stepping into more of who we are, it's just the beginning, because now Spirit's like, thank God, now we can get to work.
Okay, so you both do beautiful shamanic journeys. I've spoken with you both at length about those in the past. Did the animals come to you for each of the Clairs in a journey?
There were certain animals that each of us felt drawn to. I don't know if they came to us in a journey, but so the raven with Voya was very, very much led by Kate. I mean, I couldn't have talked you out of that if I wanted to. I mean, it truly, you were just like, no, this is the animal that will be Voya, with Voya.
Which, when you think about it, the raven and sight and everything and third eye, I mean, that's perfect. It's absolutely a perfect animal.
Yeah. And
wow.
I think the cat was really important for me. I really wanted a strong cat. I'm a Leo, a shocker. So I just, I wanted a strong cat. I think the dragon came to both of us as a really just fun, perfect yes. What is an animal that maybe is mythical, maybe not, that kids can also really connect to? I'm not sure if they're always going to connect with the raven, but I gotta tell you, the 9-year-old was like, I really like that bird. I'm like, the raven. I really like that bird. I was like, yeah. So then you can also, when you're reading it to your children, you can see what they pick up on. And it's a very good indicator to then better understand your child. Like, oh, hold on. Is that raven talking to you? Like, this is my thought process in my head. Is the raven talking to you because you have really strong clairvoyance? Yeah. Are you attracted to this page because these colors are the ones that you see when you close your eyes? I just think it's a fun way to start analyzing your child as well from a unique perspective.
Oh, I love that. No, but that's also I'm thinking of the children that you would work with, or the individuals you'd work with that are so cognitively advanced that they're going to want to know about that raven. Where does he live? What does he eat? What does he do? So you're also opening up all of those doors that, or that there's different, and this is, I love that it's naturally multicultural. And it's just threaded in because that's the world we live in. And kids don't see color. They don't hear accents. They don't see disabilities.
We couldn't help but feel other books coming in as we were writing. And that was one aspect where, like, when we incarnate, there's so many past lives that we've had where we were other ethnicities. And so that was bringing in that aspect that Claire's this little girl, but in a past life, maybe she was East Indian, so she has these multicultural connections. We're all one, that's one of the messages as well.
Yeah. So is there anything else either of you would like to add before we finish up? Because this has been absolutely, truly enlightening, but so fun as well.
I would love to say two things. One, Kate, I adore you. It's so much fun working with you. I love it. And then, Denise, you are the reason that we're doing this.
Oh.
I mean, I know that sounds really cheesy, but Kate and I never would have met if you hadn't done your mediumship courses. And so if anyone is thinking about taking one of those courses, you just never know where your life is going to lead as a result of learning new things. I mean, when I started your courses, Denise, I thought it was a gift that you were given. It wasn't an ability that you could train and flex. So the fact that 5 years ago during the pandemic, I took my first course with you, and to now realize that I have a lifelong friend in Kate. I think you're pretty good too, Denise. I mean, I don't know. And that we're writing children's books and our lives are completely different than what we ever imagined it would be in 2020. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with Kate and to learn more about this journey.
Well, thank you. It's incredible. And I just have to be, and I deflecting, oh my God, you gave me a compliment. What do I do? But thank you. But how about, because I'm curious, your own children, their reaction to the book, do they love it?
Tell them what Callum said when we showed him Cogni.
Cogni there's the dragon and a wise man sitting in a meditative position. I think it was that one. Oh, and no, no. It was the one with,
and I showed him the
so we have images where Claire's daydreaming or meditating, and you see coming out of her third eye, she's walking into this upper realm with all of her little friends following her. And so we showed Callum that image as we were talking, and he said, "Oh, it looks like Buddha." And I was like, "Oh," and there's no Buddha image in there. It was very meditative, like though. And he picked up on that. Mm-hmm. And that was at least a year ago. So he was around 4 at that time. Or no, 5. 4 or 5. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
1.5.
Okay.
Yeah. And Teal won't put it down. Like we have one copy because we had to have a copy printed for the Kickstarter. So we have one copy and she literally is like, let's read that book. Let's read that book. Let's read that book. And when I was sitting in Hawaii, actually, the first time that I read the whole thing to her without the visuals, and I just read it to her, and Alex, my husband, her dad, was sitting there, and I was reading it just from my computer, and she looked at Alex and she patted him. Now, she's nonverbal or verbal-ish. Some of you guys know that from my other podcast, but she patted Dad and she looked at him and she's like, pointed, like, this is big. I mean, you could just tell she was like, this is big. Like, are you getting this, Dad? Like,
just yesterday, Callum, I was in the car and it's like, Mom, what if everyone in the world buys your book? I know. It's like thinking big.
Go Callum. And there'll be a TV show and a movie. Like maybe there'll be a movie about Claire. Hey, Disney, I think you need to write a movie about Claire.
Well, thank you both. And where can we know we can find the Kickstarter. I'll put that in the show notes. But what about for each of you?
AkashicElements.com. Yeah, AkashicElements.com.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful.
And just a real quick comment. You can actually visit our website for Claire's Magic book as well. It's just Claire's Magic. So we do have a website for the book that gives you a little insight as, to what we're doing. You can sign up now if you want to get notified about the Kickstarter, and we'll definitely have the Kickstarter information there as well. And then I have a podcast called For Our Special Kids. As I mentioned, my daughter has disabilities, or she's verbal-ish, very good communicator. But For Our Special Kids is the podcast on all your listening platforms. And then I have jenniferlansink.com. So there you go.
So
great. Thank you. And thank you both for doing this with me. This is, it is magic. It's magic for both of you, but also for so many people that are going to be gifted with this story and this piece of it's art, it's work, it's creativity. It's absolutely stunning. And so anyone that's listening, you never know who you're going to run into or what spirit's going to ask you to do, but please step up because we need you. And thank you again, both, for doing this, and
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, Denise.
Bye.
Bye.